It's Wednesday. You know what that means.
I'm better than you, and you know it.
You fucking mark.
Listen, get it. Calm down, bro.
What is up, everybody? What is up? You are checking out the Sports Jedi Network here live on a Wednesday night here on March 18th, 2026. I am your host, PGH Chris TV, and tonight we got some more AEW talk to go over here. Dynamite just went off the air, and I should have known not to tweet at 10 o'clock, because at 10 o'clock, the main event, like the bell rang, the match was over. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, AEW might actually end at 10 o'clock. I actually might go live on time. Yeah, not happening. I should have known, but we're going to talk about it here. We're going to talk about the aftermath of AEW Revolution. But first, I want to thank all you guys here for joining me here on a Wednesday night, wherever you're watching me, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Rumble, Kick. If you're listening to all the audio platforms, make sure to go leave a follow, subscribe, and wherever you're watching. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Dude Wipes and the Sports Jedi Networks, always wiping out the competition. Text Dude, save 25259-463 for 20% off your next order. As well as Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, wake up, stand up, never back down. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/rumble and use code Rumble for 20% off, or our referral code SportsJedi20. And you guys know the PGH Chris TV is, of course, powered by G Fuel. Use code PGH Chris to save yourself 30% off for the next few weeks. If you are not a coffee guy, but if you're not an energy guy, go to Blackout and you will save money on your coffee there. Let's get into the show here, guys. AEW Dynamite live here, March 18th, 2026. Wasn't real quick before I break down, the show from start to finish like I usually do. I did say this on Saturday, and I think it's fair that a lot of the AEW fans do say this after the pay-per-views are over, and it's that, can they follow up? Can they make Dynamite after their successful pay-per-views, fun? Not fun, but necessarily good. Can they follow up? I don't know if they did that tonight. I'm iffy. There were some things that they, of course, followed up on, but they also repeated a lot of the stuff that we saw, not just leading up to Revolution, but at Revolution. And we'll talk more specifically about that. And we also saw some people that I'm surprised we haven't seen on the show in a little bit. So it was a little mixture of everything. I'm not a fan of the gimmick matches after we just got a Texas death match. It was okay. It was okay. But let's get into it. They were live in Fresno, California at the Save Mart Center. You already know, you could tell that the main event, by the main event, or you can tell by the location who was main eventing the show. It was the Young Bucks and Jungle Boy. And so, they're the Fresno guys. They're the California guys. They are going to get their big spots in their hometown. So, whatever. They started off with Will Ospreay versus Blake Christian. Match got announced, I believe, Saturday. They mentioned something about it. I saw it on social media after Revolution. And I was like, okay, they're going to have Will Ospreay already wrestle. I think Will Ospreay should have went out there and had an open mic right to start the show. Do I think he should have wrestled? No. Was this a bad match for Will Ospreay? Coming back from a very, very serious injury, leaving him out of action for months. No, it wasn't bad, but you could definitely tell that Will Ospreay, wasn't wrestling like Will Ospreay. He wasn't necessarily doing the Will Ospreay type of move sets, the Will Ospreay type of scenarios that I know he could do. He was very limited. I know he did. I was honestly surprised he even did a phenomenal forearm because he has to springboard off the rope. He did land a lot on his neck when they did go outside on the near the fans outside on the barricade there, and Ospreay kind of had his neck sitting up like that. I really thought they were going to do something stupid where Blake Christian actually stomped on his neck. I was like, dude, you're literally doing an Adam Cole, Kyle Fletcher all over again. I don't think he should have wrestled. But Ospreay won with the hidden blade. This is what should have now after the match is what should have happened. We shouldn't have had the match between Blake Christian and Will Ospreay. We should have, like I said, we should have had Will Ospreay go out there and start with an open mic. And I say that because after the match is over, he grabs a microphone anyway, comes and calls out Jon Moxley. He even drops a famous F-bomb. They obviously bleeped it, so they AEW, whatever, producers, whoever, they clearly knew that this was taking place, that he was going to say that, so they knew when to bleep it at the appropriate time. But Moxley comes out, and Ospreay, they start brawling into the crowd. They start brawling into the crowd. Yuta and all these guys, the Death Riders, kind of get involved. Now, I'm starting to get really lost with the Death Riders because 1 minute they're babyface, 1 minute they're heel. 1 minute people are cheering for Jon Moxley, the next minute people are booing him. I don't understand it. And just he acts like a heel, I think, but I don't know, man. The Death Riders haven't resonated with me really in all 2025, and I think now in 2026, they should have ended the story a while ago, especially when Hangman did beat Moxley at All in Texas. I don't know. They're gonna feed Ospreay Jon Moxley right away, but after they were brawling in the ring, they got back in the ring. Pac comes out and starts beating the shit out of Will Ospreay. I like this, but I don't. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, right? Because I think Will Ospreay coming back, if this is an opponent for Will Ospreay to come back, I think it's good that it's Moxley. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys how credible Jon Moxley is, not just in AEW, but in professional wrestling. But I think, he comes back. He might get a big match with Jon Moxley going into Dynasty, which I believe is April 17th. I want to get that up for you guys so I could give you guys the accurate dates for Dynasty. I think it was April 17th in Vancouver. April 12th. Oh, I was right the second time. So yes, they will be doing Dynasty April 12th in Vancouver. And they're gonna give an opponent there for Will Ospreay, a good match, Jon Moxley and Ospreay. But this is the part that I don't like. I hope it's not for the Continental Championship that Moxley has. I think Will Ospreay did win, when it was the Mid-Atlantic Championship. I know he had something like that. I just don't see why Ospreay needs it. Eventually, his goal, his mission, especially this has to be his mission at this point, because I don't think Will Ospreay is getting in the ring right now, wrestling, coming back at Revolution this early, if he's not going to participate in the Owen. It's no secret, right? This guy obviously wants to participate in Wembley Stadium, rightfully so. I mean, All in Wembley, rightfully so, right? It's in his hometown. It's in his area. It's in his home. I mean, he had a match with Jericho at the first All In, and I liked it. I very much enjoyed it. And then he had a banger match with MJF. They're going to probably repeat that this year at All In Wembley for the AEW World Championship, this time in the main event. because that year it was Swerve versus Danielson in the main event. So that's where they're gonna go with Ospreay right away. I like how they're not gonna feed him to MJF. I like how they're gonna kind of let that breathe. I kind of like how they're gonna kind of condition us to seeing Will Ospreay back on TV because he has been gone for a while, and I think they did a good enough job on building up for his return because they did play a couple of vignettes backstage or during the commercials or whatever, right before the commercials, leading up to his return, and I think his return Sunday helped the show. I know it got overshadowed by a couple things, especially Ronda, but it was good to see Ospreay come out on Sunday. It was good to see him here on Dynamite. Again, it wasn't a bad match. He won by a hidden blade. He didn't really look like the Ospreay. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to. I'm hoping he wouldn't because really he needs to save all that shit for the opponents that are worth it, but for the opportunities and moments that are worth it. So we'll see where this leads up. I think it's going to be Ospreay versus Moxley at Dynasty for the Continental Championship. So we'll see where that goes. They did a tag team match. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of the show where it was good to see people be on the show. And I liked it. I want to talk about Juice Robinson and Ace Austin as a tag team because I don't mind them, but I mind the fact that Colton Gunn isn't involved in any of these matches. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Austin Gunn. I don't know what it is. But it just Colton's phenomenal. I think, or excuse me, Austin. I'm getting them mixed up. Holy moly, I'm getting them mixed up, chat. Austin Gunn is phenomenal. I don't know where Colton is. If he's hurt, because I know he's been hurt pretty recently. But Austin Gunn's phenomenal. He has that charisma. I meant to say very charismatic. He knows how to cut promos. Obviously, his dad's a legend, so he has an idea of what he's doing. I didn't mind Ace Austin and Juice Robinson in this setting because we saw Ace Austin on Dynamite. I think a lot of people, since he's been announced for him signing the AEWs, all he's really done was Ring of Honor and Collision. He hasn't really done anything else on the main AEW television or scene or anything to where people are going to really notice this guy. And I what's the point of signing with this company if you're not going to be showcased, if you're not going to be seen? I don't understand it. So I like it in that aspect. I thought Juice and Ace Austin looked good. I think they may be in the run for the tag team championships. I don't know because I do think this. I do think I could see Ace Austin being in that singles run, right? And by the way, Ace Austin had a match. I'm talking Ace Austin and Juice Robinson, but their opponents were Wheeler Yuta and John Moxley. And they won, but my focus isn't on them because I knew they were going to win, and I know what this match, essentially was about. But it wasn't a bad match. It was good to see Ace Austin. I think he's going to maybe have a singles title in the future. I could see him being a TNT champion. I know these championships really don't mean much, but I could definitely see him being a national champion, challenging Jungle Boy for that new title that he just beat off Ricochet. So we'll see where that goes. But it was nice to see Juice Robinson on TV because I like him. But really, Ace Austin, I think he's the guy that needs to have the spotlight on. He needs to have the spotlight on him moving forward, and we'll see where he goes from there. But They did a backstage vignette, and I thought this was pretty interesting. More stipulations added to AEW in their matches. We got a big match next week, but I'll get into more of that when we get into the Swerve portion of this review. But Kenny Omega backstage, not backstage, but he was in a vignette. He looked like he was backstage, and he challenged Swerve Strickland to another match. This time, he's challenging Swerve, and he wants Swerve to put up his #1 contendership on the line because the Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland won, where they had a couple weeks ago, was like the #1, was not like it was the kind of the #1 contenders match for MJF after Revolution. So now Kenny is asking Swerve to put that on the line. I like it. Again, obviously we know Swerve accepts, and we'll get into that, but I like how, and you know what, we'll get into that right now because this has to do with it. Kenny challenges, Swerve answers. He comes out into the ring later on in the show, and then he sits down on the chair, kind of like how Mike Santana does on Impact, and he speaks, and he says, "Kenny, I want power." He wants to be an EVP. So he's basically saying, "I'll accept your challenge, but there has to be something else. It's not just for my championship. If I win, I need something from you." And Swerve is saying he wants that EVP status. Very, very interesting in a few ways. One, I like it because it gives us the possibility of MJF versus Kenny Omega. I know we got that match the 1 week in Collision or whatever, and it was a really, really good match. One of the only collisions I've watched since CM Punk exited AEW. But I like it because it gives us that match. It might give us a proper build for that match. Those are two guys that have been with AEW since day one, fan favorites, AEW originals. They're not putting the WWE guys in the main events every week. No, they're literally setting this company around Hangman's, Kenny, Swerves, MJF's, guys like Darby's, guys like that. So I like it for that reason. Two, not just MJF and Kenny, but that's also a big baby face for MJF to go up against at AEW Dynasty. Now, it's going to be in Vancouver. So I'm expecting to have Kenny Omega versus MJF, but this is what I'm thinking, right? And this is number 3. Could be maybe Kenny Omega slowly winding down his career officially. I mean, we know this guy's not 100%. We know he's dealing with some very, very serious medical issues. Is this something to where we kind of are mysterious about Kenny Omega possibly retiring? That's definitely something that they could do. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I want to obviously see it. Kenny's one of my favorites, but I don't know how much he really has left in AEW, at least as a performer. So I think it's gonna be good. The match is official for next week. It will be Swerve and Kenny 2 for those stipulations. The match was announced during the Speedball match, some Speedball Mark Davis match. So we'll see, guys. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good second match between these two. The AEW World Championship scene is heating up. And MJF possibly has a big baby face to challenge him at AEW Dynasty. So we'll see. We'll see. But before we get into the next match, because we got to talk about this guy. My guy pendejo, Darby Allin. Darby. I don't know what we're going to do with this guy, chat. I don't know what we're going to do with this guy. But I think we do, because he says something interesting. But before we get into that, a word from our sponsor.
Sports Jedi Nation, you already know I don't start my day without 2 things. Standing firm in what I believe in a cup of coffee that actually represents those values. That's why I rock with Black Outlaw. It's a 100% American company, unapologetic, patriotic, pro Second Amendment, an anti-woke nonsense, no corporate hustle, no virtual signing, just real coffee for people who still believe in God, family, and dreams. Every bag is a roast right here in my beautiful state of Florida, and it's shipped straight to your door. Fresh, bold, no compromises. If you need to hit the ground running, the Morning Reaper I suggest, a medium roast that goes smooth, powerful, and clicks like a movie. Support a company that actually gives a damn about this thing. Go to Blackout Coffee. Use my promo code Rumble for 20% off or Sports Jedi 20 of your first order. Blackout Coffee. Wake up, stand up, never back down. Fuel your freedom. Real coffee with real value. It's bold, backed by freedom. Wake up and think free. And may the sports be with you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. That is Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is a sponsor, a affiliate here of the Sports Jedi Network. We got to talk about Darby Allin. Darby Allin and Gabe Kidd. I mean, what was this? What was this? Do I understand what it was? Yes, because we know that Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors was out in the middle of that desert, and they had Darby Allin come out in the car 1 week, whatever. But they did this thing where they cut to the parking lot, and they had Gabe Kidd and Darby Allin outside in the car beating each other up, and then Darby drags Gabe Kidd into the car. He fucking drives it, and he does a flip. He does like a stunt, and they both crash. The car's upside down. They both get out of the car. Well, Darby Allin gets out of the car first. Gabe Kidd gets out. Darby starts beating him up, and then they cut to the commentators, and the commentators, again, worst commentary team in the entire fucking business. Me and Kev just had the honor, and go watch our interview. Today, we just interviewed TNA's play-by-play commentator, Tom Hannafin. And I rightfully so gave him his flowers and props because I think he's top three. My top announcers in pro wrestling are Michael Cole. He's the voice of my childhood. So he's number one. Corey Graves, and then Tom Hannafin. Nobody can compare to those three commentators, in my opinion. And I cannot stand this fucking commentary team. I am thankful for those three guys more and more and more. Excalibur, are we having the match? Are we having the match? This guy, Bryan Danielson, doesn't want to fucking say anything. He thinks everything is great, everything's spectacular. This guy, Tony Schiavone, what are we doing? This commentary team sucks. Anyway, they cut to the commentary team. They're talking. As they're talking, they cut the camera. They shoot it out into the crowd, and then Darby and Gabe Kidd are running out to the crowd, and I guess the match starts. Whatever. They're fighting. Darby Allin wins, long story short. But, I mean, this is AEW, guys. I mean, I'm going to have the same issues with this like I had for the No Holds Barred Mina Shirakawa and Marina Shafir match later in the show. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is AEW. And we had the opening match of Revolution have a fuck ton of blood and all this gimmicky matches. We had an amazing Texas death match. Just let the fucking Texas death match breathe for a few weeks. And then their next weekly show, they give us no holds bars and they give us casket matches. You should have done, I think Kenny and Swerve should have been done at Revolution, but if they want to keep making AEW Dynamites interesting and must watch in terms of that aspect, I'm fine with that. But instead of Darby and Friends, like some people like to call that group, playing trios tag team, You should have had this on the card. You had a bunch of gimmicky bullshit anyway. Everybody was fucking bleeding anyway. That's just me. But that's just me, guys. And then Darby Allin, he calls out MJF after the match, and he says, Maxwell, Jacob Freeman, I'm coming for your AEW World Title. The crowd didn't give a single fuck. The crowd didn't say a single word. I love Darby, but either he's lost the plot or fucking Tony's lost the plot. He should have had the championship before Everest. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. The Swerve segment did happen after that, but I know I talked about it. But again, good segment. I liked it. Again, a lot of stipulations. It's going to be a must-watch match between him and Kenny Omega. So it's going to be fun. But speaking of fun, I thought this match was fun. It was Mark Davis and Mike Speedball Bailey. They had a good match. Speedball continues to have good matches on AEW Dynamite. I think he's very, very, very. I don't want to drag it, right? Very, very, very good. But he's very, very consistent. He's very solid. He's having good matches every time. I don't really know. It was a good kind of, I'm not going to say Mark Davis is a big man or anything like that, but I do think Mark Davis, he brings that big man strong style to the locker room and the division. And I think Speedball, he's very kicky. That's his style. We saw a lot of that in this match, and it made sense, right? Because Mark Davis is essentially a bigger guy, or excuse me, Speedball is essentially Mark Davis is a bigger guy, and Speedball is trying to take him down with his kicks. I thought it was a good match. Again, Speedball, I think he's, in my opinion, he stands out more than Kevin Knight. I know that might be a long, long, long shot. But I think he does. I truly think he does. And I would like to see him again, TNT champion. So I don't see, I will always see him as that high mid card guy. I don't see him challenging an MJF or anyone like that in the near future, especially not anytime soon. But it was a good match. And I think he can really show something in that division, in that scene. So I'm curious. Good match between these two. Speedball gets the win. And we'll see where that leads for both men, but especially Mike Speedball Bailey moving on into the future. But it was just speaking of, the future, no future, because I don't think any of these women have no future. Marina Shafir versus Mina Shirakawa. No holds bar. Mina Shirakawa got the win. A lot of back and forth here. Mina came out with a looked like a bat with like barbed wire around it. It was you knew already blood was gonna come. It was okay. It was okay. I have a problem. Again, we saw Mina smash a fucking bottle off Marina Shafir's head. We saw Marina Shafir make both of them go through a table. We saw Marina Shafir drink a bottle of champagne in the middle of the fucking match. Talk about gimme indie mud show. I mean, again, we saw this type of match during the Texas death. Why did we need this again on Dynamite? We didn't see Ronda. So maybe that tells you right there. I mean, look, again, I'm not expecting to see Ronda. I don't want to see Ronda. She's training for one of the biggest comebacks of combat sports, women's sports. I mean, she's about to main event the first ever MMA event on Netflix. So she's training, she's doing a lot of other stuff. I didn't see her doing anything with AEW in the long run. I don't see her being in a professional wrestling ring actually competing, especially before that fight. So wasn't surprised that she wasn't on the show tonight. But again, I'm not a fan of these type of matches right after we just saw that type of stuff on a big pay-per-view. They should have let this breathe. They should have just had a regular match, because I would have understood if Mina wanted to have a match with Marina because, she's good friends with Tony. And the way that Ronda did Tony or whatever, I understand that. I understand that, especially with what the scene was when after Ronda came out and her and Marina, kind of got the up one on them. So we gotta see what that happens. But I wasn't that big of a fan of the match. They got those 3 spots that stood out to me that I mentioned, and they didn't really do anything that caught my eye. Like, oh, okay, I just thought this was an indie mud shell match. So, and I'm not surprised. Marina's been having these type of matches. I've never been interested in her. I think she's like the female Orange Cassidy without the stupid pockets gimmick. Excuse me as I'm taking a sip of the water here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I unless there's a tag team match with Ronda Rousey in the future after the MMA show, I don't really see the point of any of these women feuding with each other anymore. So I hope they move on, and we're gonna move on. Before we talk about the main event, some quick honorable mention. Andrade in the back talking, about how he wants everybody wants AEW World Championship opportunities. Andrade was talking to Renee. He wants an opportunity. We'll see how that goes. I think, if they do a show in Mexico down the future, or something like that, on a a big Dynamite show or something, I think they'll run that match. So we'll see. I would like to see it. And speaking of the world champion MJF, he cut a little vignette after his match at Revolution. You could tell because he was still very bloody and all that stuff. But he kissed the camera and he said, "What's next?" He's going to Disneyland. So maybe this guy's finally going on his honeymoon. Maybe he's finally going to get that break, a little bit for maybe a week or two. Maybe we don't need to see him for a couple weeks. He just had a bloody match. So after Swerve and Kenny. So maybe he's not on this week. He's not on next week, and then the week after. I wouldn't mind that. I think that would make sense. Quick thoughts on the main event here, because this is starting to get rinse and repeat with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry in these fucking trios matches. I have no interest in trios matches, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care for them. I think trios matches should only be done in circumstances in terms of all 6 guys have animosity with each other. So it means 2 guys would need to be feuding with the Bucks, and 1 guy would need to be feuding with Jack. Boom, you got your 6-man tag team match. But no, they in this company, they like to have actual trios, fucking divisions and trios. They're putting a lot of emphasis in those matches. I don't want to see them anymore. I'm so trioed out. Young Bucks and Jack Perry versus Don Callis family, Okada, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta. It was a spot fest match that all got their moves in. But what's more important here is after the match. First off, the match ended at 10 o'clock. Like the bell rang at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to start the review show at 10 o'clock. No, not happening. They obviously did a 10-minute overrun. And it was because Adam Copeland, well, first off, the Young Bucks got the microphone. And they were talking about how, FTR beat them, and now they got to climb their way up to the top. And, Father Buck was talking to Brother Buck about, I always love calling them that. It's so funny. No, the Jackson's dad was talking to them about, you guys got to climb back to the top. Show the world that you guys are the fucking Young Bucks and stuff like that. So that's what the Young Bucks are trying to do now, climb their way back up to the top. But it is not until Adam Copeland and Christian Cage come out and announce and tell us that at AEW Dynasty, it will be FTR and Cope. Excuse me, I'm reading the chat, but I don't pay attention to those respectfully. I don't pay attention to those comments because I think they're fake. But Copeland and Christian come out because Copeland says at Dynasty it's going to be FTR versus Cope and Cage for the AEW titles, and it doesn't leave a good rub with the Young Bucks. Copeland says he needs it because it's really because it's in Vancouver, it's in Canada soil, but Copeland says it's because he needs revenge because of what FTR did to Beth Phoenix. They finally mentioned that. I was hoping they mentioned that because that is something very, very big that happened. And they obviously weren't going to acknowledge it on Sunday. They weren't going to grab the mic on a pay-per-view. But I was waiting for that to happen. So I'm happy it happened. That we needed that. FTR then comes out, and then they start the brouhaha, a little bit of a brouhaha. They got the FTR leaves their titles in the ring. The Bucks, brother Buck has one, Christian has one. The other brother Buck has one, Copeland has one, and they're both like playing a little tug of war, and then they go off the air. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad match, main event, but it wasn't a bad segment either. It's just, again, these three are your main tag teams at this point. They're putting emphasis, the tag team division's 3 tag teams. Everybody else that should be in the tag team division, they are playing trios. They have Jet Speed with fucking Mexico. You're going to tell me Jet Speed shouldn't be competing for the AEW Tag Team Championships? You're going to tell me Ace Austin, Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, whoever shouldn't be competing for those championships? Like, come on. Come on. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. No more trios matches. I don't want to see it. We're going to get FTR and Christian, or FTR versus Christian Cage and Copeland at AEW Dynasty in Vancouver. So, chat, I don't know who's going to win this. Actually, psych, I'm kidding. It's going to be Copeland and Christian. They're finally going to get that moment. They're finally going to get that championship run in AEW. They might even do a trios tag team championship match with FTR, the Young Bucks, and Edge and Christian, maybe to recreate a TLC match. I can definitely see that happening, guys. I can see that happening, but that's what's happening at Dynasty. Overall, it wasn't a bad show. They didn't follow up really much on anything that really happened on Revolution. We got Christian Cage coming out, and then boom, we got Ospreay. Okay. But the Mina and Tony, it's just a lot of repeat. I don't really think it's follow up. I think it's a lot of repeat of the shit that we've been seeing. I can give the Ospreay and maybe the Copeland thing a little bit of follow up. Everything else just felt a little bit of repeat. Don't know why Mark Davis and Speedball were having their match, even though it was good. We'll see. We'll see. Boss Knuckle Brew, thank you for joining me here on a Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite. He says in the chat, TLC with 2 50-year-old plus men sounds dangerous as fuck. Yes, I agree with you, Hoss. But Tony's a mark. Tony is a mark, and he's going to make that match happen. It's going to get a rating. Probably will be at Double or Nothing inside Louis Armstrong Stadium. So that's what's probably going to happen. But I agree. A TLC match with 2 50-year-olds sounds very dangerous. But it's going to happen. It's gonna happen. And we got my guy Elliot. Elliot, salute, brother. Appreciate you joining me here on a Wednesday night. I know we've been trying to get you on here, trying to talk some pro wrestling. So maybe one of these days you come up and we have a conversation. But Elliot, I appreciate you joining. Haas, Knuckle Brew, I appreciate you joining. But I don't think anything else really happened on this show that I kind of think I covered everything. Again, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. We'll see when MJF makes his return on TV. I'm guessing again after the Swerve and Kenny match taking place next week. And we got Kenny and Swerve next week, part 2. Again, if Swerve wins, he keeps that #1 contendership spot and maybe becomes an EVP. And if Kenny Omega wins, he is the AEW or #1 contender for the AEW World Championship and will most likely challenge MJF at Dynasty. Maybe Double or Nothing, but I'm thinking Dynasty. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys joining me here on a Wednesday night. I want to again thank our sponsors, G Fuel, Dude Wipes, Blackout Coffee. I want to thank all of our friends and collaborators, Aaron, Marie Shadows, Wrestle Soup, our guys in Wrestle Soup. If you guys are listening to this on the Wrestle Soup platforms, I really appreciate the support recently on these reviews. Myself and Kev on our reviews on our shows. Keep supporting myself as well as Wrestle Soup. We thank Wrestle Soup every single time for putting our shows on their platforms and continuing to help us grow every day on that side of things. So much appreciated, guys, and I appreciate you guys joining me here every single Wednesday night. With that being said, good night. Hope you guys have a good one. We will be live on the Rumble tomorrow for TNA Impact. I have been PGH Chris TV, and this has been your AEW Dynamite review here on March 18th, 2026. Good night, everybody.